Alrighty, we are streaming. Let me hit that record button. Do, 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 do. Yeah, we are recording. We are live. Nice, very nice. Okay, so today I have with me Zakia Ringgold, and I have a short introduction here because you all need to meet Zakia Ringgold. Okay, so to kick off our first Event Innovators Insight session of the year, happy 2026, y'all. We're starting with a voice that brings both clarity and restraint to the AI conversation. Zakia Ringgold is an AI systems architect and the founder of Business Tech Labs. She has a lot of businesses, but this one's is my favorite, so I'm shouting that one out. Where she works at the intersection of people, processes, and technology, usually when something isn't working and no one can quite name why. Her work focuses on designing human-centered systems, architecture, and AI translations, layers that help organizations adapt technology without losing clarity, continuity, or trust. Zakia's background spans large scales, virtual event design, organizational learning systems, and real world implementation. During the pandemic, she designed and produced immersive virtual conferences for universities, libraries, and public institutions.
I knew what you meant. Don't worry.
Yeah. Long before AI powered experiences became a buzz phrase. What she learned then still shapes her work today. The biggest challenge is rarely the tool. It's orientation, judgment, and timing. Through Business Tech Labs and its live implementation environment, Live Soap School, Zakia ensures systems are designed to make sense to humans before automation ever enters the picture. Her work prioritizes durability over speed and decision making over novelty. Today's session, designing intelligent events where AI helps and where it should wait, reflects that philosophy. This is not a tool talk. It's a framework for thinking clearly about when AI adds value, when it undermines trust, and how thoughtful design leads to more meaningful audience experience. So please join me in welcoming our first speaker of 2026 for the Virtual Summer Tiers Event Innovators Insight Series, Zakia Ringgold. So I had to give
Wow.
you that long intro because you do so much and people need to know about you. So I'm handing over the stage to Zakia.
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I can't start without thanking Erica first. She has spearheaded us here in Virtual Summits here for the past. I've been an active member for 3.5 years. Every Friday, 10 o'clock, I have my calendar set to it. It is an amazing experience to be here surrounded by other virtual event technicians and producers and just people in the space online. So if you are not a member of Virtual Summiteers, I hope that you will join us because there is a whole lot that is shared aside from the innovator session. And I'm just grateful that I was asked to kind of kick off 2026. So thank you, Erica. All righty, let's get into this presentation here. Of course, we used Gamma, another AI tool that we all know, love, and enjoy. And I shouldn't start there because I'm starting with a tool, and I said this isn't about tools. But what you're going to hear from me today specifically is number one, turn my phone on do not disturb so it doesn't ring again. And number two is that when tools are placed correctly, they make all the difference in the timing of how you use them. So I knew that Erica was asking me to do a presentation. I had my talking points. I knew exactly what I wanted to deliver. So then and only then did I turn on my AI tool hat and say, which one is going to help me get to the outcome faster? So, hello everyone. I'm Zakia Ringgold. My latest business is Business Tech Lab, where we are getting into a lot of orientation work and a lot with leveraging AI systems, but not specifically from a tool perspective. So I do want to set expectations and echo what Erica said. This is not a talk about platforms, features, or tech stacks. It's really about design, specifically in how AI systems need to think in sequence if you're after personalization, or if it's going to feel intelligent instead of invasive when it shows up on behalf of you to your clients or your customers. And events are simply the clearest place where good or bad architecture show up really, really fast. So, this is the fundamental mismatch. I say most event stacks optimize moments, but your attendees at your events experience journeys. And this is a fundamental mismatch. Most event systems are optimized for moments. Think of things like your registration, a session, your follow up emails, your recap emails. But people, when they're at your events or deciding to come or even after, they don't experience the moments, they experience journeys. And when every system treats them like a first interaction, your trust is never going to compound. You're not going to get that continuity that we're after, where it doesn't feel so invasive. So let's think about virtual event registration as a clear example. The system will usually capture someone's role, hi Harry, um, their interest, and then it will immediately treat that information as permission to um, really personalize it, but it's very aggressive. Someone might select learning or research during their registration and say, I'm signing up because I want to learn more. But then within minutes, the AI is dropping urgency driven emails, right? Calendar nudges, do this, or people you should meet at the event. So the individual's identity is flattened to a segment, and it's not respected as a posture of how the person is coming. And the system forgets that registration intent is often just exploratory. When somebody's saying why they signed up for something, it's probably just in the moment and they're clicking things to get through the registration. So, a question for you is, what information are you capturing at the registration stage and why? And then, more importantly, when you want to layer that AI experience on, how will that inform what the AI does for the remainder of that person's journey? Now, that's one stage, that's the registration stage. During a live virtual event, this AI invasion can get worse if you're not doing it right. A participant could attend a session quietly. They might stay off camera. They might not ask any questions, but they just may be somebody who likes to take notes. They don't want to be distracted by all the networking and all of that. If you don't design the system right, the system may read that silence as the person being disengaged. And then they might start sending them networking prompts and then follow-ups for them to for you or your system to pull them back in, even though they never left. So the context of the person sitting there on the opposite side of the screen is lost. And the system can't tell the difference between someone that's processing the information deeply and someone who has checked out altogether. So those will compress, and then that failure is going to show up in hours instead of months. And then the last part, we always talk about events here with before, during, and after. So the after event is that post event experience. And where I'm seeing it break down a lot is the systems that we are using and designing are resetting everything. So, attendees who watched full replays or spent time with a long form resource, maybe you had an ebook that they could download, but then the system ignores all of that and resets them to stage one, like they never were there. So they start pushing your AI system or your automations that you've created, starts pushing them into a sales sequence. Like, and it ignores everything that they did while they were in the session. So there's no context for the AI to tap into. So, what makes virtual events such a clear lens is that speed. You have registration, you have participation, and you also have follow up that happens within the span of days. And so the system doesn't feel intelligent to the person receiving it, it feels like it's impatient. And that breakdown that I'm pointing out to for all of you is when the attendee journey isn't designed for. So my question is, are we really designing for the journey, or are we patchworking a bunch of tools together to make the system fit what we think the attendees want without paying attention to what it is they've said that they need through their actions? So here's an AI reality check. Um, AI does not magically make systems smarter. I know intelligence is in the word, it makes them faster. If your underlying design is fragmented, AI will just accelerate the confusion. I've seen businesses add AI to workflows that were already brittle and broken and end up with more noise. The problem is never the model you're using or the tool, it's the architecture underneath it. And a common example shows up in content and social media marketing systems. A small business adds generative AI to create summaries, maybe your follow up emails, and recommendations on top of a very fragmented content library. We have blogs, we have social media, we have all kinds of things. The problem is the underlying design never clarifies who it was for or what stage a person needs to be in order to share that information. So AI just starts generating more emails, more recommendations, more next best things, more social media captions, more, and it's not hitting the mark. So when you see that happening, I want you to realize that AI did not create that confusion at all. It made the confusion that was already inherent in whatever you were doing faster and louder, right? All right. Hey, Tom, how are you? Happy New Year. All right. And we also see, because we're at Virtual Summiteers, we also see this clearly in virtual events. And we're going to see it more in 2026 because AI is the hottest thing since sliced bread. More organizers are adding AI driven matchmaking, session recommendations, post event follow ups on top of a platform that already treats registration, attendance, engagement as separate moments. It's not interconnected at all. It just sees it as, oh, you got 500 registrations. But what were those 500 registrations doing during the event? And if I was somebody who didn't log into a thing and you're sending me a recap email about the great freebie that Erica has offered, I have no context on why that even matters to me. And the AI is confidently recommending it because that's what it was trained to do. It's like, oh, this is A plus B always equals C, not in this instance. And what happens for that, and this is why trust erodes, the system starts to feel invasive because AI is acting on very fragmented things instead of an accumulated understanding and continuity that's built in. In every case, AI doesn't fail. The failure is not in the intelligence, it's in the design of the system. AI simply reveals it. And so that's something I want you to think about whenever it feels like there's a mismatch or something is broken. What is the underlying architecture around it for you to be able to hand that decision over to AI to act on your behalf? And I can see Harry looking at me and he's saying, that's why I don't use that stuff anyway. So, whatever. All right. But you will in some context. There are instances where it makes sense. And so I'm going to walk through how I design systems in AI. And I'm going to echo this throughout the entire talk. AI only works when it understands not just what happened, but what it means for what's to come next. So I created my own new title. That's the luxury of being a small business owner. You can be CEO, you can be whatever. I'm now calling myself an AI systems architect because I design systems where identity, context, and decisions persist across time, not just what happened or the click that I wanted or the engagement that I got on social media, but what it means for what comes next. So I do that in Business Tech Lab, and it shows up when a system remembers why someone came, not just what they clicked. When we go to the behind the scenes, I'm going to take you to one of my bots on my website, which it knows exactly what people are doing on my website, how long they're there, where they're spending time, what they're clicking on. But then it gives me clues and reports on this is what I need to do next. So that's a tangent, but let me walk through what I mean by this in terms of remembering why somebody came. So the first step is identity. Identity is how the system understands who someone is becoming, not just who they are in a single moment when they land at your event, on your website, in your coaching call, in your consulting session, whatever it is. It is the role and intent a person is expressing through their behavior. And what we do is identity is not reset every time someone clicks on the website or enters a new channel. Um, so, for instance, somebody might be a researcher. They remain a researcher across articles, videos, and any return visits. A learner, on the other hand, um, even when they're quiet, they're still a learner. So we design for that identity persistence. And so the system doesn't reinterpret who the person is or what their intention is when they're there. So that first step is the identity and really getting clear on who the person is that's there. The second part of that is context. Context is accumulated meaning of what has already happened. So, like I said earlier, on my Business Tech Lab website, there's a little silent chat bot that sits in the bottom. Even if you don't interact with it, it knows what pages you've gone to. It knows what case studies you've looked at. It knows what you have downloaded. And then only then, when you go to interact with it, it has that context so that it's not just giving you standard, oh, this is what we do at Business Tech Lab. And the reason that's important, I don't know, all of you are on LinkedIn, but when I'm on LinkedIn, I'll have somebody come in my DM, hey, I built websites for a living and I can help you grow your t-shirt business. Well, number one, if you had context on who I was, you would know I don't have a t-shirt business and you would know I build all of my websites. That's the same idea in terms of the context for AI. If it's just spitting out ideas, if it's just spitting out your general information. And this is what a lot of people experience with Chat GPT and why prompt libraries became very popular because we didn't know how to talk with it and engage with it. And then we would get this generic stuff. And then it was, oh, AI doesn't work. No, we didn't provide the context for it. And then the last part of that is the decisions. Decisions are the actions the system has already taken or intentionally delayed, right? This includes what offers they actually show people, what's withheld, what recommendations that it make, and the moments where the system chooses to wait. So when you have identity, context, and decisions that all persist together, they don't jump up and down, the system stops behaving like a series of disconnected automations and starts behaving like it has a memory with judgment. And memory is where AI becomes extremely powerful. And again, when we go to the behind the scenes off of here, I'm going to show you all what I did with 2 years of memory, 2 years of chat history in Chat GPT. I layered that in, or I infused all of that into Gemini, and it has now created an entire strategy for 2026. And that's the memory component of it. It's also why the tools mattered less than the rules you set about what could not and should not be forgotten about the person that you're interacting with or engaging the AI system with. So I intentionally made this slide boring. And the reason for that is when most people talk about event workflows, they are really talking about task completion, if we're honest. You register the attendee, you send the reminder, you deliver the sessions, you trigger the follow up. Each step works in isolation. And the success is typically measured by whether it fired at all, people were able to register, you made money or you didn't, you added emails to your list. The system is centered on itself, not the people. And from a system perspective, everything looks fine, even when the experience to the attendee or the person on the other side is horrible. If we converse that with where we're moving to and what's going to make the difference in this age of AI, decision architecture starts from a different premise. It assumes that the attendee is experiencing a connected journey, not a series of moments. So we're moving away from moment to here's a continuous journey that people are on. Instead of asking what task comes next, it asks what decision is appropriate now, given what the system already knows. And that shifts the center of gravity for everything because the context continues to accumulate and all those prior decisions matter. The system is no longer just executing steps, it's really designing the behavior, and it's truly personalized based on the context that it has. And this is where trust enters the picture. Where a lot of the stuff with AI is breaking is there's a disjointed trust. And there's a term that I hate, and I'm going to say it out loud, and it is AI slop. I really despise that term. I really do for several reasons. It does have its place. However, when people are framing it as AI slop, it's because you can tell that it was clearly generated by AI and all of that. However, sometimes it's being done in more of a gatekeeping way where you just don't want people to be able to enter the space. So you're saying, oh, that's just AI slop. That's not what we're describing here. But AI slop is one of those things that's going to quickly erode trust. So if you're not designing for those moments and it's just very transactional or task based, you're going to see that the returns that you could be getting from AI are going to be diminishing very, very quickly. So I mentioned trust. How do we build it? Thank you, Notebook LM, for the infographic. There was a conversation that we had about keeping Notebook element on there. I take it off. You guys can keep it if you want to. However, trust isn't built all at once. It's built in sequence, and the order absolutely matters. It starts with intent. Before a system acts, it has to understand what a person is actually trying to do, not what we want them to do. Like we want them to come to our conference. We want them to enroll in our membership program. We want them to become brand ambassadors. But if their intent is that's our intent. If their intent is misread, everything that follows is going to feel pushy or irrelevant. So you cannot skip this step. You truly have to understand the intent of the people that are there. And Harry says trust is built over time. Absolutely. And it's the same thing for the systems. After intent comes evidence. Evidence is behavior over time, not a single click or a form field. And this is where, for you as the person designing these systems, this is where your patience matters. And if you're acting on thin evidence, that's how a system gets creepy. Like I clicked on your site, now I'm getting all these offers for something that I had absolutely no interest in, right? So waiting for evidence is how you will become more credible and you can start trusting your decisions. And then only after intent is clear and the evidence is present do we get to what I call decision rights. And this is the system asking, what am I allowed to do right now? What is it that we're handing over to AI to be able to do on our behalf versus those things that always require human interaction? Not what can I do, but for AI, what has AI earned the right to do? And sometimes the right decision isn't to act, it's to make sure that it gets to the top of the mailbox of the owner of that particular department or company or whatever it is. And then finally, you have continuity. Whatever the system has learned and whatever decisions that it has made, it has to carry forward. If context or the prior decisions are forgotten, that trust is going to reset to zero instantly. Like I just told you this yesterday. I'm going to give you an example from when I was in the hospital. They would continue to ask me, every person, well, what brings you in today? Well, I just told the person at the front desk. I also told the nursing assistant. I also told the doctor. I also told the nurse practitioner. When when are all of you going to talk so we're not starting at zero again? And that's the same thing for your online systems. And that's where that continuity comes in. Continuity is what makes the experience feel thoughtful instead of very transactional. Yes, maybe there's a reason why the hospital was asking me in all four of those interactions. Was my story going to change? Do I say it a little bit different? But there was nothing for me as the end user to know that there was some larger intelligence that they were gathering this information to be more informed on the care that I was going to get. It just felt like they were all starting at ground zero. Now, one thing I want to be clear about, this intent all the way through continuity, it does need to happen in order. You can't have continuity if you don't have the intent. If you jump ahead, AI does not become intelligent. It becomes fast, confident, and wrong every single time. So trust isn't a feature that you slap on at the end. It's the outcome of respecting that sequence. So I'm going to pause here. Are there any there's a lot going on in the chat. I'm trying to keep a look at it without going off tangent, but are there any questions or ahas or yep or absolutely not that you all had as I've been going through that so far? And Harry's typing in the chat. I just said my eye. You are getting into agents versus general AI. Absolutely. Yep. Fast, confident, and wrong. Yes. You're doing good. Okay. Got it. All right. So this is the model I use to decide whether AI belongs in a journey at all. And the easiest way to see it in action is to look at it from a virtual event from start to finish. So let's start with the intent part. At registration, most virtual events are going to ask what someone is interested in or why they're attending. But that information is often treated as permission to personalize immediately, right? So it's like, oh, well, you said you were here to learn soap making. I'm going to give you all the soap you can swing a stick at. Well, in reality, that registration intent is usually exploratory. I talked about this a little bit earlier where we're saying, I'm just trying to get through this registration form, click, click, click. That's not really what I'm into, but I'm going to check it off. Now, someone might be trying to learn, they might be observing, or simply understand if this event is even for them. If the system treats that very early signal as commitment, all of the personalization that may be built in with AI starts too soon and feels pushy, not helpful. Next is we're looking for evidence. Evidence shows up during the event itself. What sessions did they actually come to? Did they stay for the full session or did they bounce between sessions? Did they watch your replays? Did they ignore the networking prompts or did they jump right in when you sent something for them to go to an expo hall? These behaviors that happen during the event either confirm or contradict what you said their original intent was. So, acting before you have that evidence could accumulate. And that's how you can be either confident that your system is doing it the right way or the wrong way. Then we get to that decision rights part. And this is the system asking, what is it allowed to do right now? Now that I know their intent and there's evidence of it, can it go ahead and recommend a follow up session? Maybe. Should it push networking or a sales conversation? Not necessarily, right? Because in many virtual events, AI, what does it do? Oh, you're in Philadelphia. I know Harry is in Philadelphia. I know Harry's not in Philadelphia. You two should meet. But Harry hates everything about AI. What are we going to talk about? DJing, live streaming. But it might have missed that because there was no checkbox for that on my intake. Um, so in many virtual events, you want to make sure that if you're using AI, make sure it's earned the right to act and make decisions for anything that's going to be people facing. And then whatever the system learned during the registration, during the event, it has to carry through for after the event. Someone who attended deeply but maybe didn't come off, maybe you can go and offer them a one-on-one conversation for what they got out of it instead of just blasting them with your standard after event emails. Because maybe there's somebody who likes to talk one-on-one. Again, it has to happen in order. If you go ahead and skip on the intent part, all of your evidence is going to be misread. If you skip the evidence part, all of your decision rights are going to be guessed. And if you skip continuity, your trust is never going to compound from one event to the next and all of that. And that's why I always say generative AI does not fix broken design. It accelerates, fastens it, makes it quicker. If you hear this clearly. Yes, you might be putting a lot of stuff out, but if it's a lot of the wrong stuff, you're not getting the return on investment. And the fastest way to break personalization in your events is to let AI act before it has earned those decision rights. So think about one event that you're responsible for. Now, I know many of us have not started using AI for the sake of AI in our events, but are there any current places you are thinking of implementing AI? And if so, and you don't have to answer this out loud, are you clear on the intent of using it? Do you have evidence? What will you allow AI to do without you? And can it be continuous throughout that person's journey well beyond the event? Event is just a moment. We're looking for that continuity. Yes, Chat and I have put out a lot of stuff. And yours has a lot of continuity to it, Erica. So, well, I'll come back because I'll get off track. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about architecture, because we are the Summiteers, we like to talk tools and stuff. So I would be remiss. Before you add another tool to your stack, map one attendee journey using intent, evidence, decision rights, and continuity. If you can't clearly name the decision that AI is making and whether it's earned the right to make it, your tech stack may be shiny, but it won't be intelligent. And we're after intelligent event design. And always remember that tools expire. Architecture is what's going to compound. It doesn't matter. You're always able to swap out a new tool. They come up every day. But if the underlying architecture isn't there, again, it's the squirrel moment and the I got it to get it kind of thing. Now that the architecture is clear, let's talk about where AI actually belongs in the journey without pretending that the tools compensate for missing design. So before the event, it's not about targeting, it's about listening. So I'll use AI before engagement to improve the questions we ask. And I would go to our trusty generative AI, whatever, pick your poison, Gemini, Chat, Perplexity, Claude, whatever one it is, to help me to come up with the questions to ask people that are registering. And this is to avoid any of the assumptions that we might make because if the intent is unclear, the system is going to stay curious instead of confident. Whereas if my pre questions are saying, how soon do you want to implement a solution? And I have people saying, I'm not here for a solution. Well, I'm not going to start selling them on solution. Whereas somebody saying, I'm ready in the next 3 to 5 weeks, then we're going to go down the sales path. Does that make sense? Is that tracking where, but if I don't ask the questions to get the person's intent, I have no way for this AI to know whether they should be curious, continue to ask more questions, or confident in, oh, this person has checked all these boxes. Their intention is clear. I'm tracking. This is exactly this is the path we need to send them on. I did that one, so I'll skip. Doo-doo. Yeah, it jumped too far. I can't see what you guys are seeing. Maybe you can see this one. I don't know. Building in a silo without an MVP. I think you will like it, especially if you use the comment. I'm missing all the good talk in the chat about tools and what I should be using. So I'm going to come back and read that. All right. So what is AI doing during your event? Think of session attendance, chat activity, participation patterns without actually forcing the conclusions. So I've used this approach in live programs where AI is quietly supporting the moderators with context while me as the moderator is retaining the judgment. So let's talk about the observing part. AI can gather data on engagement, interactions, and session attendance, and it can provide you the insights without imposing expectations. It can also surface instead of dictating what should happen. AI can highlight relevant information, potential connections, or session alternatives for people, allowing the human to still be there, but AI is just surfacing those things at a higher level for them. It can also serve as a host assistant, um, providing like real time data on you're having people drop off in the first 5 minutes of sessions, or people are really paying attention at this particular session. It can give you suggestions for moderation. It can respond or create drafts. And then it can also empower your facilitators to enhance that event experience. And then I talked a little bit about continuity. I'm just going to say this for its sake. This is where most stacks collapse. And I think I have a delivery coming. Erica, give me 1 minute. I have to pause for 1 second.
All right, no worries.
That's funny.
Guys. She knows me so well. She's called me out multiple times.
No, I thought it was funny, the delivery arriving in the middle of your talk.
Yeah.
But
and Milo barking to let her know that the package has arrived.
Yeah. Yeah, reality and truth.
Yes. Hello, Harry. Hello, Joe.
Good morning.
I've secured the package
too. Okay.
Okay, package secured.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. It required a signature. I had to go. Normally they would leave it, but this one required it. I'm so sorry. I knew they were going to come.
I get it.
Smack dab.
You're amongst friends. We forgive you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you. All right. So this is what we're talking about in terms of continuity. And this is where most tech stacks are going to collapse. Post-event, after your event is over, shouldn't reset the attendee to 0. It should carry the memory of everything that happened in that event, what their interests are, and then move that forward. So what AI should be doing after your event is remembering the journey, right? What did the person do? What did they experience? That's really small on my screen. Their unique path, how they came in, how they interacted with other attendees, if they even did, and then building a personal history. Summarizing meaning, not just the activity. So AI should move beyond raw data and really go to understanding what truly resonated with the people that were there from a collective and then also from an individual perspective, and then preventing the next interaction from starting at zero. So each new interaction that the person has should be building on the previous understanding, creating that continuous and evolving relationship over time. It's not, and I'm going to repeat what Harry said, trust is built over time. If you're thinking that your event is going to be that silver bullet, I think that's why Virtual Summiteers is so remarkable, is it's been built over time. We come here and we trust each other's recommendations, their experiences. It wasn't because we logged in one Friday once a year. It's every single Friday where we're living through those experiences. That's intentional. Well, I don't know if it was designed intentionally, but that was an outcome of it, that trust that was built over time. And if I'm lying, I'm flying. And guys, am I lying? And this is where I'll answer the question everyone's thinking. What tool should I use? If you absolutely, and I started with this, but I'm going to repeat it because it's not a specific tool. Because if I tell you a tool without the placement for that tool, what'll end up happening is, Zakiyia, you recommended this, but it doesn't fit. If you absolutely need a place to start, step into your generative AI tool, whether that be Chat, Claude, or Perplexity. Not to automate, but to use it as a thinking partner. Use it to pressure test what the intent is, to rewrite questions, and simulate the attendee journey. What would be the optimal journey for somebody interacting? And what I always say, that AI can teach you about its strengths and what it could do and how you could use it better than any guru that's going to sell you a prompt library. Ask Chat, I'm trying to implement AI across a specific event. The goal that I have is this. My audience is ABC, ABC, XYZ, 1, 2, 3, whatever that is. Help me plan how to incorporate AI. Where does it make sense where it will not break Zakiyya's decision framework kind of thing? And if you must use a tool, there is one that I absolutely love. There's two. One is Consulto. That's a listener on your website. And the other one is reclaim.ai. And the reason I like Consulto and Reclaim is it respects the boundaries of the individual. Reclaim is more of a personal boundary setting. It helps to intelligently create habits, build your calendar, schedule tasks, and make sure you're not just responding to everything with a yes. Whereas Consulto is that app that I was mentioning earlier about what's sitting on my website and the amount of data that I get. So if you have to use a tool, start with generative AI. And I think that's where I'm going to end. That's where I'm going to leave that. And Thomas says, I use Reclaim and I like it. Good. Tom, how long have you been using it? You know, I got it on lifetime deal. 3. Okay. So it's not a flyby. Even better. I didn't do enough research on it. Sometimes when you're with LTDs, well, we all know. Sometimes they burn you, but if they've been around for 3 years, I'm excited. And then I think we have one more. Yeah. So we went into Notebook LM and created a video because I knew I would probably go on tangents, not explain. This video is
Welcome to the explainer.
7 minutes. And I shared my presentation with Notebook LM, and then I had it go ahead and create a video explainer for anything that I may have missed. So if you guys can sit back, don't go to sleep, watch the video, and then we can open up for Q&A.
Today, we're talking about event tech, but probably not in the way you're used to. We're going to dive into a whole new model, and it's all based on the brilliant work of AI systems architect Zakia Ringgold. This is all about designing systems that actually earn our trust instead of just, throwing more tools at the problem. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at what's fundamentally broken with most event tech. Then, we'll see how AI, surprisingly, can make things even worse. From there, we'll get into the good stuff. Zakia Ringgold's big idea, which she calls decision architecture. We'll break down her 4 pillars of trust, figure out where AI actually belongs, and wrap up with a really powerful concept: why your system's architecture is way more important than any single tool. So let's start at the beginning. Where does this all go wrong? Well, it turns out that almost every single conversation we have about event technology starts from a broken premise. You know how it goes. The conversation immediately jumps to tools. We're all asking about platforms, new features, cool automation tricks. The big question is always, what can it do? But as Zakia Ringgold points out, this is exactly the wrong question to start with. We're assuming the problem is a lack of capability, but it's not. The real problem, it's the design itself. And this is where you see this huge disconnect, right? On one hand, you have the system design. It's built to optimize these little separate moments, like registration here, a session over there, and a follow-up email way over there. But that's not how people experience things, is it? For an attendee, it's one single continuous journey, and they feel all the bumps and friction between those disconnected parts. It's that feeling of, ugh, why do I have to enter my name again? Or getting a personalized recommendation that just feels weird and out of place. Okay, so you've got this fragmented system. Now, what happens when we pour the rocket fuel of generative AI on top of it? Yeah, exactly. AI doesn't come in and magically fix the broken design. It's an accelerant. It takes whatever you already have and just makes it more. So if your design is broken, AI just accelerates the brokenness. Those disjointed experiences, now they happen faster. Those awkward personalization attempts, they get louder and more frequent. And that's exactly why so many of these AI-powered systems feel kind of creepy and invasive, not helpful. So to get out of this mess, Zakia Ringgold says we need a complete shift in our thinking. We have to stop trying to patch up individual moments and start designing for the entire continuous journey. This means building a whole new foundation. So what does that look like? Well, it means moving away from these simple one-off workflows. Instead, we need to build an architecture where an attendee's identity, their context, and their decisions, all of it persists over time. The system has to carry the meaning forward. It's not enough to know someone clicked a button. The system needs to understand what that click meant and how it should inform the very next thing that happened. And this is the big idea. It's called decision architecture. And get this, its main purpose isn't just to automate things. Its job is to figure out if and when AI should even be involved in the journey. It's a system designed to make sure AI earns the right to act for an attendee. See the shift? It's about trust and timing, not just features and functions. And this isn't just some abstract concept. Zakia Ringgold has actually formalized this whole way of thinking into a concrete model that she uses to build her own systems. It's called the decision readiness architecture. Okay, so her model is built on 4 pillars, 4 really critical questions. And the key thing here, the most important rule, is you have to answer them in order, no skipping steps. So the whole model really hinges on this one big question. Before a system can act, what must it understand? It seems so simple, right? But think about it. It forces us to just pause, to stop thinking about automation for a second and start thinking about understanding. Okay, so here are the 4 pillars. First up is intent. What is this person actually trying to do? Not what your marketing funnel wants them to do, but what is their real goal? Second, you need evidence. What behaviors are they showing that either support or maybe even contradict that intent? And we're talking about quality signals here, not just a mountain of data. Now, the third one, this is the absolute game changer: decision rights. Has the system earned the authority to make a move? Has trust been established? And finally, pillar 4 is continuity. How does the decision we just made inform what comes next? How do we make sure the system remembers? And this really gets to the heart of it. As Zakiyia says, people don't resist intelligent systems, they resist presumptuous ones. You know that feeling when a system gets too personal too fast? That's not a content problem, it's a timing problem. AI breaks our trust when it presumes a relationship that just isn't there yet. It acts before it's earned the right. So, if we're following this architecture, if we're asking these 4 questions in order, it begs the question, right? Where does AI actually belong in this picture? Where should we place it? And the answer isn't everywhere. It's not about finding the biggest, baddest AI engine and plugging it in. It's about being incredibly thoughtful and intentional. It's actually about restraint. So think about it like this. Pre-event, AI isn't for the attendee, it's for you, the designer. It's a thinking partner. You can use it to simulate different attendee journeys and see where things might break. Then, during the event, its role shifts. It's not there to make decisions for people, but to help them make better decisions by making the trade-offs really clear. And then post-event, this is maybe its most important job, to provide that continuity, to make sure the system doesn't get what you might call amnesia and forget everything that just happened. This is how the relationship actually gets stronger over time. Okay, this brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful idea in Zakia Ringgold's entire model. This is the big takeaway. The idea is this: tools will always expire. Architecture compounds. Think about that. The specific AI tool you're excited about today, it's temporary. It's going to be obsolete sooner than you think. But a solid architecture, one that's actually built on these principles of understanding intent, finding evidence, earning rights, and maintaining continuity, that doesn't expire. It builds on itself. It compounds, creating more and more value over time. And that leaves us with one last, really important question that you should be asking yourself. When you look at your event tech stack, what do you see? Is it just a pile of separate tools, each one doing its own little thing? Or are you building a true decision system, an architecture that is fundamentally designed to earn the trust of your attendees?
I said I'll let AI explain it a little better than I could. So, last thing, this is just my slide. You all are officially hearing me call myself an AI systems architect for the first time. There is a whole article on designing intelligent event systems over at businesstechlab.com, and maybe you'll go and experience that AI agent in the bottom right. We can open for questions, or we can talk about this thing that I'm saying about a tool burning us when we go off recording. But thank you for listening, everybody.
Let's see. Okay, so we just heard from Zakia Ringgold. Zakiyia, would you please tell us where can people find you? Like, where's your favorite social media hangout spot?
At this point, I have 2: LinkedIn for all of my professional folks, and Facebook for all the regular folks that I like to hang out with. So yeah, you can look me up, Zakia Ringgold. So I'm Zakia Ringgold everywhere, and then also you can see my work at businesstechlab.com.
All right. So now we are going to stop the live stream and give you folks a chance, if you want to hang out with us and talk to cool people, brilliant people like Zakia Ringgold, you need to join the Virtual Summiteers peer group. So other than that, I'm going to say goodbye and happy 26 or 2026 for now.
I like the idea that tools expire, but the architecture